Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're going to take a look at the Maw of the Damned artifact progression. I'm going to make a short guide on it, quote unquote, the best path, the path that I'd recommend. Before we start, I just want to say that the goal of these artifacts is to get every single trait, okay? So this is not that big of a deal. I know people are going to maybe disagree with certain selections, but regardless, you will get it all eventually, all right? So just keep that in mind. So first things we're going to talk about here is, the starting path that you'll be able to take while you're still leveling up and preparing in the very early Legion game. Obviously, you're going to get consumption first. That's just it's mandatory. You can't really avoid it. And then sanguinary affinity as well, mandatory. All right, so these two things are a good base point. You get a little bit of physical damage and, of course, the actual ability, which is very strong. Now from here, we're going to make a bolt to this ability down here. Umbilicus Eternus, and I'll explain why. So we have to put 3 points in Dance of Darkness, which increases the duration of Dancing Rune Weapon. Very, very good. This one here is not the best. Your stamina by 3%, not very good yield, but you do need it. And then you're going to take Umbilicus Eternus. Now, the reason we're going to take this as the first golden trait, guys, is because this guide is for people who are leveling through Legion on day 1 and raiding on week 3 when the raids actually open, or 2, or whatever it's going to be. You want Umbilicus Eternus first because it is an exceptionally strong absorb for 5-man content. And that's all you're going to have for the first 2 weeks. The other two are good, but they're much outpaced by how good Umbilicus Eternus is for large AoE packs. Right? And since that's all you're going to have for the first 2 weeks, you might as well focus on this. By the time raids open, you'll be able to have a second golden trait easily, if not on your way to your third. But regardless, this is definitely my recommendation. Then from there, we want to go to Mouth of Hell. This is another amazing... This honestly should be a golden trait if you ask me. Dancing Rune Weapon summons a second copy of Maw the Damned. While Dancing Rune Weapon is active, your Marrow Rend will generate an additional charge of Bone Shield. Unbelievable. So this means while you have your Maw of the Damned Dancing Rune Weapon active, every time you try to use Marrow Rend, it gives you 10 full stacks, right? Because there's now 3 weapons generating 4 charges each. So that is 12 charges. That's a full 10 stacks. And then it's also putting 3 diseases up. So 3 sets of damage for this Vampiric Blood for Umbilicus Eternus. So yeah, basically on the pull, you pop Dancing Rune Weapon, Umbilicus Eternus with Vampiric Blood, and you are not going to die for a good straight minute. You will be unkillable. From there, we still have plenty of points to be put in here before things start getting exponential. Iron Heart is next for a very specific reason. Armor by 6% is actually probably the best defensive one on this, like the regular ones that you can get. And then from here, we're going Blood Feast, okay? Hard Strike heals you for 25% of the damage it deals. That is a very, very, very good idea for any Blood Death Knight. The more you hard strike, the more you heal, and your healing is like such an important part of playing the spec. It's unreal. And once again, you're going to be hard striking to great advantage, high damage because of how much AoE it's going to be doing with the proper talents in 5-mans. So this build is for the first 2 weeks, very high optimization there. And then from here on, it starts getting exponential. As you see, 6.840. All right, so we're going to see 1,000 artifact power for this final point here. And then from here, this is where things start getting really high value, where your weekly bonus to artifact power gains are going to really come in. So after this, things get a lot slower. But around this time, you should be looking to see, where you are in relationship to when raids come out. At this point, I feel like it's a toss-up. A lot of people really like Unending Thirst. A lot of people suggest going this first, but like I explained, there's no real need for this. These two are amazing for 5-mans, and you can pretty much get them while leveling. So you'll want to make sure you do that. And that's all you're going to have is leveling, 5-man leveling and stuff like that, and this is really good. But then for raids, Unending Thirst is amazing because you can get high amounts of bone shield, high amounts of blood shield. Sorry, don't get that twisted. Blood shield active, not bone shield active. You gain 25% leech, and damage dealt by death strike is increased by 25%. So that's actually a really, 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 really good golden trait. It's very strong for raid bosses. So I would probably just go ahead and get this next. You're going to get the all-consuming rot here, increases damage done by death and decay by 15%, and then you'll take this. At this point, you're already up to 14,000 artifact for this one. So now, at this point, raids are definitely out, and you are going to be taking a long time in between, you know, to get another golden trait. But regardless, the final one is Skeletal Shattering. This is amazing, and I could easily agree that taking this second is better, especially if you're not doing raids. Like, this one's just amazing for raids because leech and damage dealt by death strike, which increases the heal it does, therefore increasing the blood shield, right? Like, those things scale exponentially when we're talking about getting hit hard by raids, because in raids you're not taking as much damage frequently, but you're taking larger hits consistently. So like every few seconds you're getting hit very hard, and Unending Thirst is really high synergy with that. But whereas in a 5-man, you know, Death Strike is not actually that strong. It is a good heal, but you can heal from better ways, especially with your artifact, and it's just not as great in 5-man. So if for some reason you're not focusing on raids whatsoever, I would recommend Skeletal Shattering instead, because of course with this, like we talked about with Mouth of Hell, you're going to be able to keep 10 stacks of Marrow Rend of Bone Shield up very easily, and that is very high synergy with Skeletal Shattering. So if you were to go that way, regardless, I would definitely recommend, you know, if you've already gone this path, then I don't know, it's a toss up here. I think it's probably best to just go back around. But of course, the damage done by your Blood Plague synergizes well with Umbilicus Aeternus. So, you know, there's a lot of checks and balances you need to create for yourself. But if you were not going to go this way, this is what I would do instead. Once you get Blood Feast, I would come back up here to Vampiric Fangs. Then I would go ahead and get Grim Perseverance, and of course Skeletal Shattering. And Grim Perseverance is just parry. And this is actually a really underrated one. Increases the maximum hit points granted by Vampiric Blood and by an additional 15%, and increases healing received by an additional 15%. So this is actually really good. And, you know, even though at this point you're looking at 30k artifact power. So if you do this, this is a long route, okay? If you just went right here, you would get Unending Thirst much quicker. Like, obviously we're looking at this in a vacuum where I can just click this and I get it, but this is a lot longer to get here. So I think anyone who's serious about progression is going to have to take this path here to get this Unending Thirst, and then from there they grind it out. And I would probably just go, I don't know, at this point, I don't know, the Bonebreaker is not very good, but this is a really good. Coagulopathy is really good with Umbilicus Aeternus, so I would probably go this route here and then there. And then after that, you can put in the rest of the points. All you really have left is Vampiric Fangs, Grim Perseverance, and Rattling Bones, and then of course Vein Render, which is actually good, but it's just really awkwardly placed. Like if Vein Render was here instead of Bonebreaker, it would be amazing. It would be such a good thing to have. But anyway, that's it. If you guys have any recommendations or questions about any of this, let me know. Otherwise, like I said, for the first week of the expansion, you should definitely be going towards these ones here. You should be able to get these ones basically before you're done leveling or shortly after 100, and then at 100 start grinding towards that. And once you get Blood Feast, you're going to be a healing god. You're going to be able to solo 5-mans like I've been doing so easily. And then, you know, that's when things start getting exponential there with the 6k upwards. So let me know if you have any questions. See you guys in the next video.